Good afternoon. It is 6 o'clock on Sunday night. It's time for Bike Church. I hope y'all have had a good week. I hope y'all have stayed safe and warm. We've had a lot of cold weather, a lot of wind this last week, and it's been pretty rough on a lot of people. I hope you were able to stay safe and warm. I want to brag on a friend of mine just a little bit. She lives over near in the Opelika area, and she and her church, for as long as I have known her and been talking to her, it's been 3 or 4 years anyway. She and the people at her church, and I don't think it's a real big church, but they make it a habit of doing things for the community. This last fall, they bought a lot of small, I would call them like space heaters, small heaters, and gave those out to people in the community that needed them, who otherwise might not have enough heat in their house. They do events at their church for the community to bring them in. Over the holidays, they fed a lot of people because it was a holiday, and they wanted to make sure that people who otherwise might not have had a place to go had a place to go to celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever holidays they celebrated. And this last week, they have had their church opened around the clock. They had different people going in and cooking meals. People whose home was not warm enough, maybe they didn't have heat at all or not sufficient heat, or elderly people who didn't need to be by themselves in this bitter cold weather. They were able to come stay at the church. They slept in the church. They stayed there. They had a place to wash their clothes. They had a place to sleep. They had food to eat. The church members took turns cooking and feeding them. They did chili. I don't know what all they did. I do know they did chili one night because that was what my friend was saying. And when she tells me these things, she's not telling me these things to brag on herself or her church. She is excited because they are able to do this. And I get so tickled at her because she will say, well, I'm not doing much. Some of the grandkids are coming and I'm not doing much. I'm just fixing. And then she proceeds to name off 10 or 12 things that they're doing for, just say, maybe the Iron Bowl. I think that might have been one of the things. They had family and friends come over and watch the Iron Bowl. And she cooked a whole pile of food and she kept saying, oh, I'm not doing much. I'm just doing so-and-so. And it's very obvious that her love language is acts of service. And I've been thinking, I've seen churches doing things. There's a little small country church that we visited this morning, and they're doing the same thing. They have started a food pantry thing. I don't know if it's once a quarter or once a month. But in their instance, and I know different churches do it different ways, but in this instance, you get you're in your vehicle and you line up, and they have somebody that walks around, takes your information. Basically, they ask how many people are in your household, and how many of those people are underage. And that's not to show whether you qualify or not. That's just their bookkeeping system to know that we were able to help this many families, including this many children. And I'm sure you're aware of the statistics about children, especially in rural areas, in poor places, that are food insecure, which is another way of saying they don't have enough food at their house. And so this is their way of helping take care of that. And I've been to one of them, and it was amazing the amount of food that they gave away. They don't ask for anything. You don't have to be over a certain age or certain income. You just have to tell them who you are and that you live in the county. And I think that was one of the questions. And again, that was just for their record keeping things. It wasn't you have to do this to qualify. Well, now they've also started and I forgot what they called it, but basically once a week, senior citizens can go and pick up a box of food that will make sure they have enough food for the week. And this is a small church. I mean, this is not a huge church. I don't know how they're financing this, but it's amazing to see that. And they're doing it for anybody in the community that wants it. You don't have to be a member of that church. And they are taking care of the widows and the orphans, so to speak. Now, everybody probably is not technically a widow or an orphan, but they're taking care of the needy. And I was so glad to hear about that this morning. And I know Miss Doris and I were talking this morning, and there's no church that's big enough to do everything. But every church can do something, and they have grabbed hold of serving their community, and that's what they're doing. And I was so glad to see that. And they are a very loving, welcoming church. And I was just glad to see that. Sometimes it seems like the small churches really get a hold of things and work on it, and then you don't always see the bigger churches doing as much in a one-to-one basis, if you know what I'm saying. They may send money to take care of things, but it doesn't seem like to me that the real big churches, or some of the real big churches, get down in the trenches. They will do things. But I think each church, and I'm saying this as a Christian, I'm not, I think we have a responsibility to take care of the people around us that we're able to, and to help take care of people. Now, we've been having a big discussion on Facebook about, someone made the point that there are buildings around here that are falling in that could be used to house homeless people. And I have always, I don't know why, but my mind analyzes everything. Of course, I guess you could say, playing devil's advocate. I was talking about all the things. You have to be up to code. You have to be able to do this. You have to be able to do that. You can't just take a rundown building and stick people in it. There's things that have to be done. First of all, somebody can sue you if you don't. And second of all, you wouldn't want to put somebody in yes, it might be better than being outside, but it might not. I mean, if it's in a rundown building, what about mold? What about a leaking roof where they're sitting in a place and the roof's leaking on them and they're getting wet, whereas if they were somewhere else, they might not be. I don't know what the answer is to that. I know there's an answer out there, but I know it's not as simple as taking a building and letting people live in it. If you let 14 people live in there, what if somebody else wants to come in? Who's going to be the one in charge of making sure that everybody follows whatever rules there are, as in not attacking other people, not stealing people? Who's going to be in charge of all that? And there has to be some kind of management system in place. And so when you get into that, then you get into other things as well. So it's a lot to think about. It's not I don't think it's ever as simple as people want it to be, unless you want to take somebody just straight into your house and let them live with you. And that opens up its own set of circumstances. If you allow somebody to stay with you, after so long, they have tenancy rights. And so you have to deal with that. And so it's a mess. It's a mess. And I don't know what the answer is. I know there's got to be an answer out there. We've got to take care of people, but there's got to be some kind of accountability in place on all sides to make sure that they're well taken care of and to make sure that they don't hurt other people. So I don't know what the answer is, but that's one of those things we need to be praying about, and somebody needs to come up with an answer. It should be a lot simpler than it is, but the world is full of people that will take advantage and don't want to do what they're supposed to. And that's those of us who are saved and those of us who are not. So that's been a dilemma that we've been discussing this afternoon. And if you've got ideas on how that needs to be handled, if you've got some ideas that would come up, I would love to hear them, because I'd love to turn them over to the people that were talking about this. And that was just a little rabbit trail that we've been running this afternoon. It is almost, today is January the 21st. We're 3 weeks into January. And it does not seem like, it seems like the days are rolling faster and faster. And I know that's true for all of us. The older you get, the faster the days go. And I want to help the people that the Lord points me to. I want to do it in a way that I'm being responsible And that's, I come across sometimes that I don't want to help people, and it's not that. I want to make sure I only have so much money that I can help people with. I mean, we're all that way. And I want to make sure that I'm using it wisely and using it to help people that really need help, and not throwing it away to people that are working the system, and who are taking advantage. Because when we do that, we're keeping that away from somebody that really needs the help. And I don't want to do that. My mama's mother, of course, this is a long time ago. I was early married, 40 years ago. And she was in a place where she needed to get on food stamps. And back then it was the little coupons. They weren't quite as big as money, but they were little coupons. And there were 1s and 5s and 10s. And you took them in the store and you spent them like you would spend money. And she was just so embarrassed that she had to go on food stamps. And we tried to explain to her that she was a person in need. She needed that. She needed that to help her live. And but she just was embarrassed. She didn't want to have to do that. And it was always real hard for her to have to deal with that. She did it, but she didn't like it. And so, and I don't know why I said that, other than she would be one of those people that would rather not. And then there are people out there who will do, I'm sure they were there back then too, but I know they're there now because I see them do everything they can to get something for nothing. And they don't really need it, but they want it so they can do something with it. And meanwhile, they're keeping somebody from getting it that really needs it. You know what I'm talking about. And that's very discouraging. I don't know what the answer is to that, other than us being as vigilant as we can be. And when you learn that you have to be that way when you help people, it kind of makes you cynical about anybody that says they need help. And I don't like being that way either, but you have to be, or you will have given everything you've got away to somebody that's just going to turn around and sell it and use it for whatever they want to use it for. And meanwhile, you haven't helped somebody that really needs it. And I know the Lord will show you who needs it. And if you are following what God says, and you give somebody money or supplies or whatever, and they don't really use it, it's on them. It's not on you. You're doing what you think is the right thing to do. But I know if you're like me, you want to be wise in what you do. And so there's just so much to deal with in any kind of thing like that. I just hate that the world is that way, but it is. I hate for children especially to be hungry and cold, and I hate that. And I hate to see people using their children to take advantage of people, because the children are still suffering. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. If you've got an answer, I'd love to hear it. And we've just got to trust that Jesus is going to show us the right way. And I reckon that's why I chose what I chose to read tonight, is Psalm 125. Let me say this first. There are a lot of people in the area that need prayers. I've got a friend who lost a family member. I don't know the details, but I know her family suffered a loss, and so I know they would appreciate you praying for them. There have been several situations in the extended area where somebody lost a loved one. If you've paid much attention to Facebook, there was a child that was missing. I believe it was last weekend, and they found him. I think they found him late Sunday afternoon. I may have mentioned that last Sunday, but I don't remember exactly what time of the day they found him. But he had been missing for, I believe, almost 2 days. And, last weekend the weather was real bad. They did find him, though, and as far as I know, he's okay. But there are so many people that need prayers. Sometimes all we can do is say, Lord, you know the need, and please touch them. I know that we need to trust God that He's going to take care of what needs to be taken care of. Excuse me. And I know we need to be praying. we could probably spend 24 hours a day praying and it still wouldn't cover everything. But we have to pray because we have to show God that we trust Him, that He's going to take care of what needs to be taken care of. And so this is what I want to read tonight is Psalms 125, and it's in this Bible it's titled Israel's Stability. And the subtitle is A Song of Ascents, Ascents, in case you have noticed that in your Bible. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion. It cannot be shaken, it remains forever. Now let me read that again. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion. It cannot be shaken. It remains forever. If we trust in the Lord, we're like Mount Zion. The mountains surround Jerusalem, and the Lord surrounds His people, both now and forever. The scepter of the wicked will not remain over the land allotted to the righteous, so that the righteous will not apply their hands to injustice. Do what is good, Lord, to the good, to those whose hearts are upright. But as for those who turn aside to crooked ways, the Lord will banish them with the evildoers. Now that tells me that people who are taking advantage will have to answer for what they do. And we know that. That's what the Bible says. If we're trying to do right, the Lord's going to honor that. And if we are trying to take advantage of other people, however we're doing that, we're going to have to answer for that. All of us are going to have to answer for what we do, whether it's good or bad. And I don't want to intentionally set out to do something bad. So I'm going to do my best, and I'm asking you to do your best, and to do the right thing. And if you pray and in your heart, your intention is to do the right thing, God's going to honor that, like I said before. I would like to encourage you, if you're not involved in any kind of an outreach or ministry and you want to be, talk with a local church, because they all have things going on that they can do, whether you want to volunteer as a part of the church staff, maybe working in the nursery, helping teach a class. I would imagine something like that. They're going to want you to be a member of their church before they allow that, which makes sense. But helping with other things. I know there's a church here in town, Faith Walk, that they cook camp stew 2 or 3 times a year. And they do that as a fundraiser. And it's very good camp stew if you've never had any. They do that 2 or 3 times a year as a fundraiser for one of their ministries. Now, I believe it goes toward the money raised goes to help support the food pantry. I believe that's correct, because they have a food pantry, I believe, once a month. And I know they would be glad for you to come help peel potatoes or peel onions or chop meat or whatever needs to be done. I know they would be glad, and you would have a good time. I've done it before with another church, and it's a lot of, anything like that is a lot of fun, because you're getting to know people, and it's just fun. I know that the Baptist Association here in Crenshaw County also has a food closet, food pantry, whatever you want to call it. And they can use volunteers to help. When the food comes in, they have to get it on the shelves, and then they need help bagging it up to get ready to hand it out. And they need help handing it out. I'm sure they would be glad to have somebody help take the food out to people's vehicles if they have trouble. I know they would be glad to have volunteers. If you would talk to one of the Baptist churches, they can give you information on who you need to talk to. I know some of the people involved, but I don't want to give you the wrong name. So I don't know who's over volunteers. A lot of different churches have work crews where they will go to someone's house. I know there's a couple of churches that go when somebody needs, for example, they need a wheelchair ramp built at their house. They go and build a wheelchair ramp. And that is a huge thing. I know when Randy was sick, we already had a wheelchair ramp, and so that was nice for us, but that would have been something that would have been very good if we'd needed it. And so I know that's one of those things. Now, it's work, but I'm sure they have a good time while they're doing it, because I know some of the people that do it, and they're good people, and they have a good time. So there are lots of places that you can volunteer. You don't necessarily have to be a member of their church. They would be glad for the labor help. And if you can't think of a place that you want to help, but you've got something you want to do, if you'll get up with me, I promise you, I will help you find a place to volunteer. And it doesn't have to be a church. There's a lot of other organizations that could use assistance in their ways. And y'all, I'm going to tell you now, it's good for you to volunteer. It's good for you to help somebody else. No matter what kind of a physical shape you're in, there's something you can do. One of the things we always enjoy doing at the shop was for the treats on us at Halloween. We've for the last several years have cooked and given away hot dogs, anywhere from 300 to 500 hot dogs. And you haven't lived until you've helped cook and wrap 300 hot dogs. We got folks on the grill cooking the hot dogs and taking them off, and then we've got somebody that's bringing the trays over to the table, and we've got people there that are sticking the hot dogs in the buns and wrapping them up in aluminum foil sheets, and then we've got somebody putting them in coolers to help keep them warm and out of the elements until people come to get them. And it's a lot of fun. It's work, and you smell like hot dogs when you go home, but it's a lot of fun. And you get to see, I always enjoy it because we get to see the kids come through with their costumes on, and they want to show you what their costumes are and talk to you, and so it's just fun. But there are all kind of things that you can do in the county if you want to get out and get to know people and volunteer a little bit, and it's good for you. It's good for your heart, and it's good for your body. And there's something out there that you can do if you would like to. So like I said, if you've got something if you feel like you need to be somewhere doing something and you can't figure out what you need to be doing, let me know, and I will put you in touch with someone who can put you to work. I think used to the schools required so many hours of community service, and I think that's a good thing. I just think it's a good thing. I have gotten to know some very nice young people because of volunteer hours, or because not volunteer, where they got paid, but it was still, I enjoyed meeting them and working with them. And I know others do too. And so think about that this week, and consider whether you've got time, even if it's just a couple of hours a month, consider whether you've got time to volunteer to do something to help a church or a community organization do something that you might not think you have time to do. So be praying for our communities. Be praying for the people in our communities. Be praying for the church in Crenshaw County, that we step up and do what we're supposed to. I don't want to be found lacking. And if any of us think about that, none of us want to do that. I don't want to be found lacking. That's one of the things. My daughter's church had a get-together, I guess it might have been last weekend, and all the ladies that wanted to got together, and they made prayer boards, which is like a vision board, but for your prayers. And Jennifer enjoyed it so much and showed me what she did. Well, it inspired me to make me one, and mine is a combination prayer board, mission, and vision board. And mine circles around the fact that I want this place to be like the coffee shop used to be. I want people to know they're welcome to come. I don't want them to come in and worry about, well, I can't put my feet up on the chair, sit Indian style in the chair. I can't put my cup of water down or whatever you're drinking down because it'll leave a ring. No, I want you to come in. If you're worried about that kind of stuff, we'll make arrangements. But I want my house to be a welcoming place, a place where people know they're welcome to come if they need to talk or just want to get together and sit and have a meal together. That's what I want. I want, no matter what I do, I want people to feel like they're welcome to be around me. And that's one of those things you have to be intentional about. And if you're like me, there are always people that you might not particularly be drawn to, but those are the ones you're probably supposed to be making feel more welcome. So I'm being intentional in that. I'm trying to be more intentional in my Bible reading and Bible study, and I would encourage y'all to do that. So we're off to a good start for 2024, and I would encourage you to continue to keep doing what you're doing or improve. Make yourself a challenge. I picked out a Bible verse for the year, and I've printed it off, and I've got it in several places. Got it on my fridge, got it in my bathroom, so when I get up in the morning, I see it. Got it in my date book so that I know that I'm going to see it at least once every day, and I read it out loud when I see it. And got a different verse on my prayer board that I see when I look at it. And then I try to have Bible verses in other places. I don't want to forget who I am and whose I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. So I would ask you to continue to do the same thing. Let God show you what he wants you to do and how he wants you to do it, and let's get after it. I don't know how much longer we've got before Jesus is going to return, and it's none of my business. But I want to be ready when he comes back, and I know you do too. So let's get after it. Let's get after Crenshaw County and see if we can't make it a better place to live. I love y'all, and I will see y'all next week.